My name is Faith Turner, and this is my life testimony. I believe that I am a walking, talking testimony. I wouldn't be here without the testimony of my parents. So I want to start by talking to you all about the testimony of my mother and my father. And this is really when my mother was struggling and had a lot of discouragement and hardship in trying to have me. And it got so bad that my parents would look into adoption many times. And so they were pretty much just trying to have, it didn't matter to them, a boy or a girl. And my mom did pray this prayer: Lord, if you give me a baby, boy or girl, I will give that baby back to you. And it was a lot of long prayer that my dad finally did have a dream one night. And it was a vision of exactly what I would look like, my hazel eyes and my skin tone and all. And sooner or later, my mom was pregnant with me, and I looked at exactly like the vision that God had gave my dad. And there were so many hardships and trials that they had to go through to get me there. That's pretty much how I got here. It was already a testimony itself. I have to say, for myself, when I was younger, like there was never a time where I wasn't happy. Like, I'm a very happy person, you can ask anybody, but like there wasn't a time, especially when I was younger, where I wasn't happy. Like, I was full of light, boldness, and joy, like all the time, like 100% of the time. And the world has a way of crumbling you down and making you feel like you can't be yourself. I remember there was a time when these thoughts started coming to me that were completely not of God, and they were thoughts of betrayal, hate, and basically rebellion against God himself. And I never ever had a thought like this, never ever experienced anything like this, and behind those thoughts were lies from the enemy. Just like, how could God ever love you? It's too late for you. How's God going to take you back after that? And it's just like, I didn't know that those things that I was hearing in my head were not my own thoughts. Like, that is the strategic strategy that oh gosh. I am a living, breathing, walking, talking testimony. Back when my parents wanted to have a child, it was really hard. That most times they would look into adoption. And my mother really experienced a lot of hardship and discouragement, and a lot of times from strangers, sometimes from friends, but it really hit hard when it came from family members. And hearing things like, why are you praying for something that you don't have? And you'll never have a child. That's hard. That's really hard. And my mother's response would be to everyone that she believed that God would give her one. And one day, my mom told God, if you give me a baby, a boy or a girl, I will give that baby back to you. And my dad pretty much would just try to encourage her, like, through the whole thing, and that to remind her that they are not God, and that God always has the last say so, no matter what. And it wasn't until after a whole lot of prayer that God gave my dad a vision, exactly what I would look like down to the T, like my hair, the color of my skin, the color of my eyes. And my dad like ran when he got up, and he told my mom about it, and it excited her. And I think that right there, knowing that God heard her prayer, was the most encouragement that she had needed to continue to push through, regardless of what she was being told by everybody around her. And God even sent many prophets to my mom, like sometimes at stores, sometimes in churches, but my favorite one is at home. My mom was sitting on the porch one day, and I remember like she was really discouraged, and there was this lady that pulled up, and she got out of her car and she walked up to my mom, and she was like, did you get the letter that I left here last night? And my mom was like, no. And she was like, oh, and the lady starts to walk away, and the wind blew and the note had fell in the bushes. And she picked up the note and she says, here it is. And the note was saying that God told me that you're going to have a blessed baby. And as the lady was walking away, on the back of her shirt it read, God speaks. And she left. And that was just confirmation to my mom that God was speaking to her in that moment. And it wasn't till a couple of weeks later that my mom believed, and she went for it, and she had been pregnant for a while with me. And she finally did have me. My dad's vision that the Lord gave down to the T was exactly what I looked like. And a lot of people didn't believe it, but it doesn't take many people to believe. It doesn't take many people to pray. It doesn't take many people to just remember that God is in control and that He has the last say so. And so I want to start from now, the beginning of my life. I was always a very happy baby. Everybody would tell you that I was the happiest baby that they had ever seen, ever. And there was never really a time where I wasn't happy. I'd wave at people. I'd pray for people. Like, I was always really full of joy, boldness, and light. And I don't think it was just something that it's a personality or something that it's a trait. Because I had always felt like someone was watching me and that someone was keeping me safe and someone was holding my hand. It was the reason why I was as happy as I always was, and it was the reason why I was full of light. And it was something that nobody could take away from me. And I didn't know what it was until there's a time in your life where your parents, they start to talk to you about God and who He is. And I remember my parents finally did, and they asked me, did I understand? And my response to them was, I already knew. Because I always had felt. There wasn't a time where I didn't feel that He was always there. I knew He was there. I saw Him many times. I just didn't know what His name was. And so now I could put His name with what I felt. It was God. It was God that was keeping me all that time. It was God that was protecting me all that time. And the reason why I was the happy kid and the happy baby that I was, it wasn't until one day that there was this horrible, terrible thought that crossed my mind, full of hate, betrayal, and rebellion against God. And behind that thought was the lie that it was me, and that I was a terrible person, and that there's no way God could love me, and that God was upset with me. And it took a toll on me mentally. I started to be very depressed because there was a lie also that I couldn't tell anybody about it, or they would also know that I was a bad person. And that was hard for me. It put me in a place of darkness, like full darkness, full void, a lot of anxiety. That light, it was dimmed, and the joy that I had turned to sorrow, and there was just a lot of doubts that I now had that I never had in my life before. And I didn't know what it was for a very long time until one day I finally did tell my mom, and she brought me this devotional about God's promises and His truth. And I started to read that more often, and it helped. One thing in my childhood that I would always do was I had a lot of sleepovers because I love playing and I love talking to people and I love having fun. But sleepovers were the thing for me because it would distract, this right here would distract my mind and my mental state. And the thoughts would go away only for so long. And when my friends had to get picked up or when they'd have to go home, I'd cry. I'd cry in the fact that they had to go home. And they think I cried, like I was crying because I would miss them. And yes, that was true enough, but I was actually crying because I was afraid. And I was just scared of my own thoughts and the thoughts that were coming in. And there was no distraction when there's no one with me. And so I had to face it. And I walked back each and every single time, back in my house, terrified that the thoughts would just rush in and that they would come back and that I wouldn't be able to control it. And it was very traumatizing for a very long time. And I'd be in my room. I was always a family person. I always spent time with my family. And when I became very depressed, I went in my room for a couple of years. That I just didn't come out very often. I stay in my room just trying to battle these thoughts and remind myself that I'm not a bad person, which I tried to do the best that I could. And I remember most days I'd stay in my room with my knees tucked to my chest and my hands over my ears and screaming and crying just for the Lord to be there with me. And I remember that's when I thought the enemy was done. I thought it was already horrible. I thought it was already bad until I had this suicidal thought to harm myself. And that's when I said, no, that's not me. And I ran to my mom's room where she was in her bathroom. And I said, the enemy's in my head and I can't get him out. And I told her how long it had been going on and why I had been in my room and why I had been so distant. And she literally rebuked Satan. She told me to put on my clothes, put on shoes. She ran and grabbed her shoes and her clothes, and she drove. We speeded to church. I remember that day. She slammed the church doors open, and everyone who was in service looked back, and she said, we need help. And she said, pray for my daughter, in tears. And they told us to come forward, and there was this man up there, one of the elders of the church, and he had asked me to tell him what the thoughts were so that he could help me and he knew what to pray for. And I hesitated. And my mom looks at me and she says, tell the truth and shame the devil. And that's exactly what I did. And this man, he did not look at me like I was a bad person, the bad person that the enemy for so long tried to get me to believe that I was. He didn't look at me like that. He looked at me like everything was going to be okay. And like he knew exactly what the attack was. And he smiled. He grabbed my hands and we prayed. And I hugged him and I went home and the thoughts stopped for a very long time. A very long time. Until they came back. And when they came back, they hit even harder than they were before. And then when they left longer than they left the first time. And then it hit even harder. I was at probably an all-time high of my depression state at the time. And I didn't believe I would even make it to the age of 18. And it became very hard for me to see my future, not even knowing if I was going to make it to my future. And I remember I was on my way home from church, and this video popped up on my phone, and it was talking about how your relationship with God is unlimited. Like you get to choose, and not only do you get to know about Him, you get to know Him. And if you talk to Him, He actually will talk back to you. And so I remember nobody ever told me that. Like there's also no reason why this video should have popped up on my phone, but it did. And with this new knowledge, I remember I could not wait to get home. I was the most happiest to get home I think I had ever been in a long time. Because being home for me meant being in my thoughts. So I really didn't like to go home. I like really went out. And I went home with this new knowledge and I opened my room door and there was this pinkish, reddish, dark, like light color in the upper corner of my room. And it was almost like Moses in the burning bush. Like that's the most thing I can think about. But it was, all I could feel was love, deep understanding, and joy. My room was full of light. And it was the feeling I had felt when I was younger at an all-time high. That was the feeling that it was. And I remember like screaming with joy and laughter and in tears from my room, telling my mom that God was here and that he had came for me to rescue me. That day, I spent time with the Lord probably all day. And I spent more time in my room for more, like maybe 3 more years. But this time, not battling with thoughts and being depressed, but this time I let God teach me how to fight. And in that time spending with him, I had realized he began to speak to me, and when he did, he started to tell me that he had always been there through the trauma, and that he had always been there when I was going through everything. And he said that I couldn't hear him because I started to believe the lies from the devil, and I started to let them define who I was. And I was believing every lie behind every thought that was not mine. And he told me that he knew they weren't mine because I'm his, and that no lie from hell could separate me from him, ever. And that reassurance, it's crazy how the enemy can take advantage of when you just don't know. And hearing from God, hearing him tell me something that he had wanted to tell me for a long time, that he had been speaking to me, was the most fulfilling I've ever felt in my life. And God started to show me who I really was. That I wasn't a bad person. That not only was I just a good person, but that I was a child of God. And that I was his. And that nobody or anyone could take that away from me, ever. And now I have given my life to Christ. I have gotten baptized, fully understanding what that means. And I remember there was this time when he reminded me of what Jesus did for me on the cross a long time ago, way before I was born, way before I was put into my mother's womb, on her testimony. And he knew every single thought, mistake, and sin that I would make, and he still chose me because he loves me. And knowing that he still chose me, and that not only is he still choosing me today, because that's what the love of God does, it chases after you throughout your life, no matter what. And not only is he still choosing me, no matter how many mistakes I do still make, he's still choosing you. Understanding that now, I've been able to help a lot of people who struggle with the same trauma, depression, suicidal thoughts, anxiety that I had. And I tried to distract myself many times with people, technology, and eating and drinking, and there's nothing out there that's going to distract you. No amount of sleepovers could have distracted me, even though I tried, but there was always a time where they had to go home. And I realized there's always a time where we must not forget what our home is, and that we must always continue to keep going to God and keep running to God. And I remember God told me, he said, the more time that you spend with me, Faith, I'm going to begin to take those thoughts away. And I just kept loving and learning and spending time with God. I made it my daily duty to spend time with God every day. And I remember one day I was in my time with him, and he goes, have you realized that you don't have those thoughts anymore because you haven't thanked me yet? And I hadn't realized, like, the presence of God is something that when you're there, you don't want to leave. Like, it's out of time. Like, there's no such thing as time when you're in the presence of God. And I had been there for so long, I hadn't realized it, and I had been reshaped and redefined, pruned, and I had to thank God because I didn't even realize that the thoughts were gone because I couldn't feel the hurt. And that's because I couldn't feel the hurt when I was with God. And he made me forget all about the hurt. And that alone has taught me that you don't have to be bound for the rest of your life. That's a lie that the enemy, he tries to make a lot of us believe, is that whatever you're going through, addictions, anxiety, depression, insecurity, body dysmorphia, whatever it is, like whatever you're going through, like that's not something that you have to pick up and carry all the time. Like it's not even your job to carry it. It's actually a battle that's not yours. It's a battle that's God's. And that's something that you don't have to deal with for the rest of your life until you're not here. Like you can be free today. The enemy literally wants you bound so that you can't help other people and that you can't heal and that you won't know who you are. If you figure out who you are, you're dangerous. Like you're dangerous to his kingdom of darkness, because darkness cannot survive with light. And you are supposed to be carrying light. And your light is dimmed every single time you sit there and believe a lie that's from the enemy. And sometimes he's so strategic that you'll think that those lies aren't from him, but that you'll think it's the truth. And you'll think that it's you. And you'll think that it's all in your head and you're not crazy. There's so many times where I ask myself, like, am I crazy? Like, am I crazy? Like, is that... I think it's just me. Like, maybe I'm crazy and maybe there's something wrong with me. And you're not crazy. And there's nothing wrong with you. Like, you are special. You are a good thing. And you just need God to let him fix you. A mechanic is the only one who can fix a car that he made. A potter is the only one who can fix the pot that he's making. God is the only one that can fix you because he created you. And you're supposed to be a good thing. You are a good thing. In the beginning, God called everything that he made, he called it good. And he said that it was good. And that includes you. You are a good thing. Made on purpose for a purpose. And you need to understand that if you want that life for yourself, if you don't want to continue trying to fill a void that's only being filled temporary, if you want that true healing, if you want that true transformation for yourself and the person that you are in your life, if you don't really know who you are, if you're struggling with knowing that you're a good person, if you're struggling with identity, if you're struggling with addictions, it doesn't matter what it is. If you're struggling with death, God is the one that can turn your whole entire life situation around. And he'll use your story that you feel is so messed up, that you feel is so ugly, that you feel is so unimportant, that you feel like it's messy. It's the best painting being painted for someone to look at. Someone's gonna buy that painting off of the market because they see how much it's worth. But your testimony and your life is something that money can't buy. And that's something that you need to understand. You are something that money cannot buy. God created you. And he sent his son to pay the price for you. And that's a price that it can't even be paid. It's that expensive. But he paid it. He was the only one who could pay it. And so your job that you can do for him is in your life. The life that Jesus gave. Live your life. I have learned so much. It's so important to live your life because you should live the life that Christ died for. And that's everything. It's in the people that you talk to. It's in the people that you encourage. It's in the people that you smile at while you're walking in Wally World. It's in the people that you dance with. It's in the babies that you hold. It's in your cousin. it's in your brother, it's in your sister. There's nobody who's too far away. And you can reach 1,000 people, and you can do anything if you just believe. And I'm here because somebody believed that I'd be here. And that alone gave me an opportunity to be here and to have my own testimony. And now that I'm here, I know there are a lot of people who, like me, I didn't believe I'd get to the age of 18. I'm 18 today, okay? So I obviously got to the age of 18, and I'm going to get more than just to the age of 18 if the Lord tarries. That is, if the Lord tarries. But I can't wait till he does come, because I can't wait to be held and be whole. And I cannot wait to tell him what I've done in this life. To tell him that I told people about him. And to tell him that when he healed me, it made me want to see others healed too. I can't wait to thank him. I don't even know if I'll have anything to say. But what I do know is that I'll be in awe of how good he's been to me. And how he's been so merciful to those who don't even acknowledge him. And if you're out there today and you've heard about God and you feel like you just have all of this time left, you don't just have like all of this time. Like, life is it's the most beautiful gift. It's a gift. And what you're supposed to do with the gift, you're supposed to take it. Except for with this gift, it has a note on it. This gift has a note on it. And it's from Jesus himself. And all he asks for you to do is live the life that he died for. And that's very important. So you have so many people to reach with your story, with what you're going through. You could turn around today and make it a story. If you don't know if it's possible to make it, if you and the people you hang around right now are going through the same exact addictions, sins, mistakes, why don't you yourself decide to see if it's possible to make it? Try Jesus for yourself. See if it's possible to make it. And not just when you make it, but when you do make it, because you will, it's not a doubt. When you do make it, you are making a way out for everyone around you. To tell them that, hey y'all, we don't have to stay here. We don't have to go through this for the rest of our life. Like, there's more out there. There's more to life than being comfortable. There's more to life. You have to live your life. And living your life means that a lot of people, they leave without ever really having living their life. And to truly live your life means you're going to take risks. And it means that you know that you can get hurt. You know that your hands might have to get dirty. But you're willing to, because it reminds you that you're alive. Healing from something that you're going through, that's living. Rather than just going through something and sitting with that for the rest of your life. That's not living. You never truly got to live. So we should all be living. I do definitely agree when people say live your best life. Your best life is the one that has Jesus in it. Because there's nothing out here in this world that will satisfy. And there's nothing out here in this world that knows you, not a person, not a thing, that knows you the way that Jesus knows you. So now, one thing that I did not mention was that when I was younger, full of light, full of boldness, I told you this already, I used to dance dance all the time. And my parents, they figured one way for me to let go all of the cares of life at that time and all of the thoughts, how to get away from it, they put me in dance class. And dance has been something that was like my therapy that God gave me. Dance has been a way to express what I'm going through, to show the world that it's possible to tell your story, and also it's possible to heal from your story, to continue telling your next story. Your life is like a book. You have many different chapters, and certain things that you go through, certain traumas, they can't go with you to your next chapter. You have to be healed from certain things. And so now I still dance, and I've realized that dance is my ministry. And not just dance, like even apart from dance, I have my ministry helping girls and boys all over the world when I do travel for dance, and letting them know that I'm nobody special, but how Jesus came in my life and how he saved me, and how he can do the same thing for them. And just really listening when God speaks to me to speak to somebody else. Your talent, I don't want you guys to forget that. Your talent is not something that you just have. And your gifts aren't something that you just have. They're given by God. And you need to use them. They're meant to be used for the glory of God, to give God glory. And I have danced not just in churches. This is what I'm saying. You are the church. There's a lot of churches that are playing around. So it's not just in a physical church. You are the church. And so where you take your gift, where you take your talent, you're having church. And I've not only danced in church, I've also danced at schools. I've also danced at dance competitions. I've also danced in literally a grocery store. Like, I've literally shared dance, and there's been people who are like, when you dance, there's this light. When you dance, I can tell that you're telling a story. And that's when I began to tell them what that story is. You have so much that you're capable of doing, that who cares about people laughing? Who cares about people making fun of you? Like, ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody really got time for that. Like, we literally don't have time for that. There is so much that you can do in the time that we do have. You don't always have tomorrow the way you think that you do. Do it today. Get right today. Ask God what he wants you to do for your life today. Ask God, why did you give me that gift to dance? Why did you give me that gift to sing? Why did you give me that gift to play piano? Like, whatever it is. I have a testimony that you can live your dream. Like, the life that God has for you is better than any dream or any plan that you could ever have. And even now, like, I'm getting ready to have a job where I go across the world and I dance and I help people, and I'm able to spread the gospel as well while I'm doing this. So please out there, like, just ask God, begin to have your own relationship with him. And the closer you get to him, he'll start to speak to you. And when he speaks, listen, so that you know what your ministry is, you know what you're supposed to do in your life, and so that you know what ultimately you were created for, that will make you the happiest than any other plan you could have ever created for yourself.